All right, I think we can all agree when I say that the person that we are today is an accumulation of habits. Who we are is just habits. And if I scope down on my habits and I try to really analyze the ones that had the biggest impact in my life, without any doubt, I will be talking to you about journaling. Journaling has, I don't want to sound too dramatic, but has really saved my life. I will share with you my story and you'll probably understand where I'm coming from when I say this. In today's video, I basically want to share with you how I started journaling, what the benefits are from journaling, why I believe in this day and age it's more important than ever to actually do it. My goal here is to share with you something that I genuinely believe can help so many people out there. This is something that I constantly recommend to friends, to family members, like the ability to face a blank page and have this, I guess, inner dialogue with a medium that, you can't lie. It's on paper. So anyway, let me share with you a little bit more my story and talk about how I got started in this. I think I started to write around the age of 16, 17, 18-ish. I don't remember exactly, but it's been a while. It's been more than 15 years. And at that time, I remember feeling very lost. I remember being in a situation where I knew I was making a lot of wrong choices, but the naive mind of a child thinks that as long as you're aware of you making wrong choices, you're still in control. And that wasn't the case for me. I remember that at the time, I was basically living two realities. There was this reality, the mask that I was wearing in front of the people that cared about me, and everyone thought I was happy and fulfilled. And there was the reality that I was facing during nighttime, where I was severely depressed. I was going on through severe addiction problems like weed, alcohol on a daily basis, and I was really into hip hop and rap music and listening to those underground artists back then. They're all talking about drug addiction and alcohol problems, and I got into that spiral. And one day I started to write myself about my issues, and it took me a while to have the courage to read what I was writing. And one day I remember not feeling great, and I remember struggling with this because everyone around me was telling me I was okay, things were going to be okay. My friends were all having the same issues as myself, and my family, they were not really aware on how my life was going. I was hiding everything extremely well because I had nothing to complain about back home. Like, my parents are loving parents. They're great. Everything was great. I never lacked anything. And so I was really living those two different realities, right? But one day I started to write, and that completely changed everything for me. What I was writing was extremely dark, like how much I basically hated the world and how scared I was of my future, without really taking any action. I dropped out of high school. Eventually my father kicked my ass and got me back into it, but then I went to college and I failed the first year because I was smoking and drinking way too much and getting myself into other troubles. And eventually I tried to do that first year again, and I failed again in the worst way, which allowed me to realize that my brain was getting fried. I couldn't memorize anything, and it's just a spiral where you just despise the system and the things, everything around myself. I became so cynical. But I was writing everything down, and one day I remember that when I failed the second year of college, I remember that feeling of the scope of my options in life just reducing drastically. I just remember this feeling of choking, and I went to my parents around that day. I remember the night before going to my parents and admitting everything. I read everything I was writing, and one conclusion that I took from it was that I was living a lie and I had zero control of my life. I had gotten to that point where I lost control. I had no clue how to get myself out of it. And I'm pretty convinced that if I didn't write everything down like I did and journaling my thoughts and stuff, never would I have been able to face this crystal clear reality that I was pretty much fucking up my life. And so I went to my parents. To their surprise, I shared everything, how miserable I was and how I had no clue how to change. Because I remember for several years I tried to quit drinking and smoking, and I tried to, educate myself and all this stuff, but I never could. Like, every time I was falling back into my old habits, because your environment is really what makes you, and I didn't change my environment. So, but again, being able to write all this stuff and all my good resolutions, and I was able to see on paper my own bullshit, right? And so I went to my parents, and they eventually came to the realization that I had to leave my home country and just live abroad for a bit and try to rebuild myself. And so now you have a bit of my backstory. I'm sorry if it's a bit long, but I feel like it's necessary to understand how much of an impact the writing has had on my life. Went to Canada, faced severe anxiety because I had to quit, consuming substances, but it helped me, and writing helped me at the time to face my anxiety. And so now you have a bit of context. I want to share a little bit more in details the benefits of writing and journaling that I think apply to pretty much everyone. The first one I wrote down is journaling, writing allows you to have this unfiltered inner dialogue. And I think it's hard nowadays to feel in control of your life. I think everyone is trying to tell you how to do things, who you should be. You try to follow examples, but it's just overall hard to know who you are and what is important to you, right? And being able to write down your thoughts will allow you to have that inner dialogue that in a very noisy world, I think is crucial to have. Another one that I wrote down is, I think journaling is the best way to identify your fears. And I remember that for a lot of the changes that I had to implement in my life, I did build up that muscle of like identifying what I had to change, what was stopping me, what was my excuse, so to speak, right? And usually, if you go deep enough into that aspect, you're rapidly going to be able to identify what you're scared of exactly. Another thing that I wrote down is the ability to structure your thoughts. I think we live in a day and age where our parents, grandparents, whoever, right, like, we valued intelligence and knowledge until now and ideas, but I think at this point everything is execution, and having a good idea is worth absolutely nothing. We know that right now. Having knowledge but not utilizing it is useless as well. And so if I look at the ability to structure your thoughts, what I mean by that is you have an idea, you have a good resolution, something you want to implement in your life. If you're not capable of actually writing it down, writing an action plan, you are pretty much always going to feel stuck. And so I look at my life right now, and writing has really been the glue between idea, project, and habits, right? And what connects all of this is the writing aspect, like the ability to basically put everything on paper and to analyze things in a pragmatic way. Something else that I wrote down, I studied Latin as a kid, and man, I hated it. But there's one sentence that somehow stuck with me, and it's like verba volant, scripta manent. I think that's the way to say it. I'm not sure, but basically it's like spoken words fly away, written words remain. I think we're living in a world where it's so easy to bullshit yourself, but when you write something down, it becomes real. it's been so many years now that I've been doing this, and the amount of time that I dedicate to journaling is going up. I spend more and more time doing it, and I feel happy. I'm actually, I'm content with what I have in life at this point. But I somehow journal more and more, and there are a couple of reasons that I wrote down. The world is, in my opinion, I think everyone can agree on that actually, but the world is getting noisier and noisier. Like, damn, the amount of noise that we are facing is crazy. Like the phones, the social media, everyone has now an opinion. Like, it feels like a necessary thing to have an opinion on everything. I'm not better than that. I'm doing the same thing. I have an opinion on everything, and we are in a world where we're exposed to so many problems that we have zero control on. So for me, writing allows me to focus on what I have control on, and I think it's a very important thing. If there's something to take away from everything I say, is that I think it's very important to feel in control of your life, and journaling will help you. But yeah, so my point here being that I write more, even though I'm actually, I would say, emotionally stable now and happy and very proud of where I'm at as a human, as a person. But yeah, to cut out noise, journaling, pen and paper, raw, like, I don't want to be writing on my PC with ChatGPT one click away, and I think people need this. I really believe so. Another reason why I keep journaling more and more, and this took me a few years to realize it, like I only realized this a couple of years ago, is that the ability to face a blank page is becoming more and more difficult for people. Like, you keep hearing it, right? People overthink, overanalyze, the perfectionists of this world, like, but what they really struggle with usually is starting from zero. And so when I look at, journaling and logging my thoughts on paper, you start at zero and you end up at one, and having that ability to repeat that process constantly with, content creation or whatever, it's now more than ever becoming, I guess, a lost skill that you need to feel fulfilled. You need that ability to not always be spoon-fed something to start. And so the blank page, you can look at it from a deeper perspective, but this is life. And I think it's an extremely good exercise for people to do. Like, I often talk to friends, we talk about projects, and projects remain actually not even projects, they remain ideas. And when I challenge him to take a blank page and write them down, he doesn't do it because it's scary. It's scary to face a blank page. And so this is one of the reasons I keep doing it. I think it's an extremely good exercise. You can't lie to yourself. You will have to face your own bullshit. Another point that I wrote down is gratitude, and I spoke about this briefly before, but one thing that I want, I guess, deep dive onto is, I face this a lot these days, and I'm wondering if I'm the only one having this, but I often look at my life and what I have and what I do, and I'm like feeling extremely content, but often in the span of like a minute or two, or seconds, that feeling of feeling content is gone. There is this FOMO, this fear of missing out on something that kicks in. And I often write down sometimes when I catch myself in that switch of emotion, I will write it down and I'm trying to identify what am I missing exactly. And it often leads me to realize I don't miss anything. It's just the noise. Anyway, I think you're getting my point. In a world where your attention is constantly stolen and, I guess, treated like a commodity, and your thoughts are shaped by so much noise, journaling might be the only place left where you can allow your mind to be its own. The blank page it won't judge you, it won't interrupt you, it won't try to sell you anything. It's just waiting for your truth. Just write one honest sentence today and see where it gets you. I guarantee you won't regret it. If you're still here and you watched until the end of the video, I truly appreciate you. This has been fun. Thank you. I'll see you guys in the next one. Cheers.